Christine. Georgie?
Georgie McNamara, staff.
And Amanda is here, Jillian
Yep.
Brock, and Robin. All right. Financial reports. Mr. Holcomb.
If I can share the right thing here. Okay, so I'm not muted or anything, am I? All right, good. As always, thanks everybody for being here, and for your interest in the ETOS financials. The last time we met was the April board meeting when we went over March financial statements. So a couple of a couple of months have passed. This is our balance sheet as of May 31 of 2022 and the previous three May 31s. You'll see the first two lines here are the liquid cash. So we have about 11.6 million in cash this year, which is considerably more than either of the last 2 years and is within $22,000 of May of 2019, which was a pre-COVID year. So that seems to be a strong.
Why is it called segregated reserve? Is that because it's in like a money market or CD or bill or something?
That's money that we've set aside. Remember, we have 1,850,000 in an operating reserve and another 300,000 that we wanted to set aside for providers' use later. So that roughly $2,150,000 is in other places. We have about a $500,000 treasury note, and the rest of that segregated reserves number is in a money market account, and then the rest of it is in our cash account that gets swept overnight. And you'll be glad to know that I brought the interest rate graph this time, so we'll look at what the sweep rates have done. I'm not going to do that every time, but it is kind of interesting this time. Yeah, numbers are bouncing around quite a bit. It's kind of interesting. So we'll get there here in a bit.
On the fixed assets, is the loss just depreciation?
It's just depreciation and an occasional sale, right? We've probably got 2 or 3 buses that may have been totaled in that time period, but it's mostly depreciation. I don't think we've sold any real estate since this time last year. So we've got about $26 million in total assets. About 16.5 of that is fairly liquid, and the other 9.5 is the fixed assets. On the liability side, we've got about $2.3 million in liabilities at the end of May, which is very much in the ballpark of what that number usually runs. You can see we continue to pay down the mortgage. Our total fund balance, which is the difference between the assets and the liabilities, or you can think of it as what the taxpayers own here, the citizens of Jackson County, $23.7 million in equity. When you look at the capital expenditure budget, I did think it might be worth looking at this in just a little detail here. We have budgeted $125,000 for the match on our new vehicles. We've now gotten the invoice for that match. It's $91,000 and some change. So we'll have some extra money there, which is a good thing because we have other things coming up that we have needed to spend money on. But the other exciting thing about that is when we get that invoice, it's supposed to mean we're about 6 weeks out from getting the vehicle.
Get it in here.
We have hired a title is automotive intermediate technician. So not quite at the same level as the full.
Okay, very good.
Internal.
Very good.
Since last time, we did some concrete work, both at Job 1 Independence, and that's what that 1125 is at DPI Independence. The $166,500 that we have budgeted for this building is mostly for the roof. We have bids out on that, so we're excited to be making some progress on that. We do expect that that'll come in under what we've got budgeted as well.
Yeah, the thing with construction.
And then we have bought about 3/4 of the number of computers that I plan to buy for the year. So each of these lines that says equipment and software, those are the computers, and for the most part, we've been replacing Dell tablets with Microsoft Surface tablets. Seem to be working well, and they're actually a hair cheaper. We have pretty much come to the conclusion that we're going to lay off the Zoom room until next year, rethink that at budget time this year. And this $60,000 that we have budgeted for IT equipment and updates, that was budgeted for some switches and some other upgrades that we wanted to do for the system. Everything is much more expensive than when we budgeted for it. So I think we're going to do the switches and nothing else. And if we do that, we'll be able to come in under the $60,000. But everything is, is more expensive than it used to be.
What did we do with the old computers?
So most of them are between 3 and 5 years old. They're all out of warranty. And so we keep a few to be emergency spares, but most of them we donate. Yeah, we donate them to an IT organization that pushes them out to nonprofits that need. So this is the income statement for the 5 months ended May 31st, comparing this year with last year. You'll see on the revenue side of the income statement, we're up roughly $400,000, and that's mostly in taxes. Our tax outlook for 2022 and our collection of prior year taxes are both above where they've been in previous years. The other area where we're up from last year significantly is the DOT Medicaid billings, which are up about 50% from last year's number. So that's really encouraging. On the expense side of the income statement, I told you that everything's more expensive, but nonetheless, we've managed to spend a total of $20,000 less than we had spent the same 5 months of last year. Now, part of that is because we have 3 providers who have asked for some of their grant in vehicles this year, and we haven't been able to get and purchase those vehicles yet. So if the provider money was exactly 5/12, our total expenses would be about $106,000 more than what they are here. So we'd be showing a net loss of about 123,000, still considerably better than where we were at this time last year. This is the comparison to budget. So remember, whenever you ask the question, how are we doing? The correct answer is always, well, compared to what? So as I showed you here, we're doing really well in comparison to last year. This will show you that we're also doing pretty well compared to our budget. We are $190,000 for the 5 months under budget for revenues. You don't want to be under budget for revenues, so that's unfavorable by about 2.6%. But we have a favorable favorable variance of about 660,000, or nearly 9% on the expense side of the budget. And as you can see, it goes pretty much up and down all the categories of the budget. The residential and the day services lines both show favorable variances, and that's mostly because those categories have the organizations that have asked for buses, vehicles. The vocational shows over budget. Most of our workshops are a little ahead of their pace for the year. Blue Valley is actually way ahead. They've spent more than half their money through 5 months. So I would expect them to run out of the currently budgeted money sometime in October, probably.
We were hopeful of that, that's why we set aside the $300,000 at the time. We can help them get through the end of the year, so.
So in total, our net loss for the 5 months is $17,000. We had budgeted for a net loss at this point of $493,000, most of which is depreciation. But you can see we're $476,000 better than the budget on the net income. So I know this is a little hard to read, but I think there are a couple of lines here that are worth looking at. This is the only statement that I give you that shows the expenses broken down by their nature. So wages, payroll taxes, employee benefits, and so on. And you've got totals over here on the right. So the total for the 5 months ended May 31st of 22 compared to those same 5 months of 21. Remarkably, we're within $40,000 difference on the wages line on a $3 million total number. So that's just shocking, really. We have been hiring support coordinators left and right. We're now near the budgeted number of support coordinators, and so those numbers started out the year smaller and have been ramping up. The interesting lines as far as fluctuations on these expenses, the employee benefits line, you can see we're about $200,000 less than last year for the same 5 months, and that's all about health insurance. Managed to negotiate a great deal, or at least great compared to what we had last year on health insurance. Thank you, Jake, and our broker. The other,
I'll be available in October again.
yeah, we appreciate that. The other thing I'll point out, which will not be a surprise to you, the cost of operating vehicles is somewhat more expensive, from $217,000 to $340,000. Most of that number is gasoline. Tires are also more expensive. Everything is more expensive. But gasoline is the number one.
Parts when we can get them.
Yeah, really, as I say, everything. And really, the story of the May financials that are twofold. The number one story is the cost of operating vehicles. And the number two story is about support coordination and our ability to hire people who have not started to generate income yet. So the promise for what those lines look like in the next several months should be much better.
And with transportation, with the new vehicles, will some of those costs go down then as well?
Well, you would like to think,
They're small.
Yes.
yeah,
Are they both diesel as well?
No, they're not using.
none of them are.
None of them.
We run just gas.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they do get much better gas mileage and stuff. Our demand keeps increasing. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
So,
Right, right. There is an accounting technicality that I guess I should probably mention to you now. We have been recording the cost of buses, the actual cost of the purchase of the bus, the fixed asset part, by just recording the cash that we pay out, the match, which is about 15% of the cost of the bus. The rest of it's paid by the federal grant that we get. That is not the right accounting method. I had that conversation with our auditors this time, and so Bill will expect us to do it the right way this time, which is to show as revenue the grant money, even though we never actually see the money. And then we'll show the cost of the entire cost of the bus. The impact of that will be to show a lot of revenue in the year that we get those buses. And our depreciation expense will be much higher than over the life.
Remind us of that next.
Yep. Oh, you know how I love to talk to you about accounting principles. So we will definitely have that conversation. How am I doing on time?
You got that?
Okay, cool. We have the one investment, it's a $500,000 treasury note. When we bought it, the market yield, what we bought it at was 2.17%, which was quite a bit better than what we were doing as far as interest was concerned at the time. We had, from our money market, we were getting about 0.15%, and that was better than what we were getting on the sweep. So what has happened to interest rates? You're dying to ask me? All right. So the blue line up here is the pre-COVID 2019 year. So in 2019, from January through December, the rates went from around 2.2%. We had some issues in the economy that were not really COVID related, of course, because it was earlier than that. But we had 3 considerable drops there and finished the year at roughly 1.4, 1.38%, something like that. Then in 2020, we stayed pretty flat at that point until COVID. In early March, we had one big drop to just under 1%. And then on March 16th, rates just collapsed and fell all the way down to near zero. And so that orange line that represents 2020 stays along that line near zero. The gray line that in many places you can't even see because it's buried with all the other things that are near zero was the 2021 sweep interest rate, and it was near zero the entire year. And then in 2022, we stayed there until March 17th. So exactly 2 years and 1 day later, we had our first upward bump in interest rates, and they went up to somewhere around 0.2%, which was a big increase from where they were, but still historically low. And we stayed pretty much there till early May, and we got a nice little bump there. And then in the middle of June, we got another nice jump. And so we are now in pre-COVID territory. We are above where we were right before COVID hit. And so that's what we're making on our sweep today, whatever that number is, 1.49 something percent. And so we may come to you next month and ask to invest in another treasury note or some CD to try and lock in some of this stuff. But so the way the economy works is that the federal government's best tool against inflation is to raise interest rates. And so as long as inflation doesn't show any sign of abating, the government probably keeps rates high, and so we'll probably see rates continue. Yeah, it's probably good for ETOS. It's good for people on fixed incomes. It's rough for people who are living on their credit. That's what I had. If anybody has any questions, you're free to ask them. Otherwise, I don't know if we give back a couple of minutes.
Well, do we have any new business? Or any old business? Any public comments? Then we will adjourn. Yeah, take 5 minutes. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for breaking it down. Yeah, like.
So when you came by, I still remember when mortgage rates were 11%.
Yeah.
So we'll have to remember that.
No,
What year was that?
1982, 83.
the
And mortgage at that rate.
the prime
We
rate.
thought that was.
The prime rate was close to 20%.
I was bored of it.
Not making fun, but I'm like, I did, that's why I'm like.
Yeah, it was when Alan Reagan was president.
Yep.
And we've not,
And
to see the rates, you know, people are complaining, but I still remember having that mortgage.
yeah, at that time, Paul Volcker was the head of the Fed, and he jacked interest rates. And it did in fact squeeze all the inflation out of the economy. And really, we haven't had that kind of inflation problem. That's why the rates were highest, because there was a lot of inflation when Reagan took office. But when Volcker squeezed all that cash out, we've not had an inflation problem like that until this one right now. Really, it's been 40-ish years since inflation's been a significant issue in our economy.
40 years of pandemic.
Pandemic and a ton of money put into
The economy.
put in by
Right.
government. Yeah.
Thanks so much about.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear Hyman's take on the economy. Yeah. Resetting or going forward. I'm gonna go. Thank you. I've been out of there, but I've been about this, so now, just where I yeah. So my mom was like, well, and then 4-year-old, and she's like, so I don't know how to feel about that. What do you need to do? That, if I someone doing a like, well, because I know there's a lot of things that I do, it's like, I think a different place, and so to just have one. Is your flight early? Yeah, early. See, I think it's, you'll probably be lucky. Lucky, that's okay. I think that the early ones are good. Less likely. It's like, I want to say maybe 6:30 or something. I bet on it. Yeah. Where are you going? Florida. Oh, I'm going to Tampa and get free. That's good. Oh, get free and then forever. I think you reach a point where you want all of them there. My 18-year-old wants nothing to do with me. And my 4-year-old wants everything.
All right, let's go ahead and call to order our board meeting. I don't think we have any new guests. So we'll move on to the secretary's report. Susan.
Everybody got the earlier meeting, correction.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. And the finance committee, we just have the financial report for May from Tom. I think you will hear for that, so I won't try to recap it, other than to say that we are doing well compared to the last 2 years. Executive Director's Report, Mr. Jacobs, your last executive.
I didn't put it in writing. No.
If I was.
So, no,
That's not gonna happen again.
well, Georgie and I have been trying to get caught up on things, and we went out and visited some providers. We visited all the workshops the last couple of weeks, and before she went on vacation to prepare herself for this job. And I thought those went extremely well, and everything was fine at job one, and Erin was there and talked with us. And I think, as Georgie and I have agreed on, she's starting with a clean slate with everybody. And I think that's the best approach to go. And we've been trying to feel out how we're going to work. We're starting out with weekly meetings with me. I'll join the weekly meeting with the admin team, and then go take it from there. I'm gonna abandon my current email address, and then I'll have another email address that you all will have, and the admin team will have. And anybody can see it all. So that way, I mean, I get 200 emails a day from so
We'll just go out on that, Dan, that he's no longer in the position to contact, or.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. So, as I've dealt with people the last month, I've been telling them, effective June 30th, I'll no longer be here. I'm retiring, and this is who you should contact instead of me at that. So that's been going well, because I get I just got the contracts for our TCM for the next 3 years, and our purchase of service contract with the Department of Mental Health. Those came 2 weeks ago, so I finalized all those. They'll go back. We got a new thing this year that we had to get something notarized, and Robin took care of that for me. And then it's never happened with the contract before. We have to verify that we're using E-Verify to check employees' backgrounds. We've been doing that since 2008. So, so that's all ready to go. Get back to them. So it's under my signature. And
I see George coming up.
oh, okay. We're still kind of figuring out, I'm going to keep my computer to the end of the year because I've got all the goods in it, and then I'll be making copies of that for everybody stuff. And so my office is cleaned out as of today. I left Georgie a stack of files that we're going to have to sit down and go through together. So you know why you've got it and why you've got it. So, but otherwise going fine. I mean, I'm anxious to get started on my vacation, kind of permanent vacation. And so,
How is your history documentation?
I should have that done. It got really hard to wrap it up, so a couple weeks early.
For those of you in the audience and not with us, George Mitchell has joined us. Thank you, George. Dan, I would like to say that I appreciated the increased media presence, and more stuff on Facebook, and more interaction on Facebook with our providers. Great.
Yeah. And if Jake wants to say, we also did an interview with Kansas City Beacon and Folk Hall the other day. We're hoping something will come out of that, and I took advantage of that to direct them to 2 of the agencies that we fund, and they've already reached out to one of them, which is John One. The other one that's we're waiting to find out if she's going to go, but they're going to go over there is Down syndrome patients.
Beacon had a great article I just wrote last night, about Platte County, Youth Rise program. Transition program.
It was focused on, sheltered employment and transitioning and, barriers for people to get into sheltered employment. We talked a lot about that and barriers to get into community employment. And so I thought it was a very good interview. I thought they asked great questions, and I did connect Madison with one of the rural, SBTs, because there's so much difference between an urban sheltered workshop and a rural sheltered workshop. And so they're going to contact her. So at that meeting, I made that announcement. Does anybody want to talk to them? You know, and so, yeah. So I'm ready to wrap things up the next 6 months. No, we'll be together.
Jake, did you want to mention the RFI?
Pardon?
Did you want to mention the RFI?
Yeah, I can. Maggie, yes, we talked about the request for information from the Department of Mental Health. They're wanting to know how interested the existing TCMs are in target case management entities are in taking on more people from the Department of Health. What's our number here in Jackson County that they're looking to reduce? 400?
I haven't heard a number that they're specifically looking to reduce because my understanding is they don't want to get out of the TCM business, so they don't want to give everybody up. But at one point, Lisa had told me if we took about 174 people, that they would have manageable caseloads. So in our RFI, I was going to say that we would take a minimum of 150 and a maximum of 250.
Yeah, I think on that last page, you've got some target numbers on that RFI.
Okay. I'll have to
But,
look back at that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of agencies are existing agencies are interested in that, but there's also a mental health organization called Compass. You may have heard of that. There's one in I think the closest office that's in Raymore, and they're starting to work with the IDD. They're mainly mental health, behavioral health. They're starting to work with the IDD population. And they do targeted case management for mental health patients. And so I'm assuming they may want to start looking at our population. So we've got CHS out of Sedalia that does some of our case management here, but we're getting to along with the regional office. So hopefully we'll be able to just keep somebody else out of Jackson County. But that's all I have.
No major changes to the TCM contracts other than the notary.
Well, there were several minor changes. We don't have to have a 24-hour emergency answering service anymore. That's going back to the regional office if we choose. I mean, we can still have that. But, any calls they get, they can refer to us if we want them to. So it's pretty fluid right now. But that's on your smaller SB40s. That's a pretty hefty expense to have on your back. So they're appreciative of that. We had some very good. I served on the committee that negotiated the new contract. We had very good dialogue with them. It's the best interchange I've seen, collaboration between DMH and the SB40s since I've been on the committee when we first started. And so the fact that we're willing to make changes and listen to some of the things we wanted to do differently. And we fought to have a rate increase, and they're looking at that. They're still considering that. They've got some extra money that they might be able to do, but they refuse to put it even basic rate in the contract to keep that fluid. So. But they had, they've kept it the same. It's been the same since 2015, I think was the last increase we had. So, but we're saying, hey, things have changed a lot. Cost of living's up. We're having to pay more to attract staff, and so they're willing to look at that. And so, even though the contract goes to 2025, the new one, we'll be meeting with them. Well, the SB40s will be meeting with them next year. To continue negotiating and trying to get the rates up. And I think it's pretty good opportunity. Anything to add to that, Georgie?
No, I think that's good covering it.
But we increased the base salary of the the SCs this year, and we have just been getting great applicants. Tom's right, we've been hiring a lot, but we've been hiring a lot of good people. Just getting people up to that $40,000 mark seemed to be the magic number, Yeah. And so, but not everybody comes in at that, because they've definitely got more experience, so we hire them. But, I think it's been very beneficial. We're up to 55 now. And if we fill everybody up to the team 8, we'll be at 61. Is that right? We'll go half of 50% of team 8. Does that sound right, Gordy?
61, I think, is the plan.
Yeah, 61,
61.
and we'll be at 57 in the middle of July.
Great. Sorry, Amanda, I forgot you were there. You've been so quiet.
All right, any other questions for Jay? Well, I'm sorry I didn't get it in writing, but I have appreciated your reports and your thoroughness and your keeping us up to date on what you're doing. Okay, new business. Anybody have any new business? I wanted to see, I'm going to put you on the spot, Georgie, and see if you can discuss a few of the items in your email about your 90-day plan.
Okay, I don't have that pulled up right now. I'm sorry. Let me get that really quick.
I'll tell you what, Georgie.
Yeah.
Like #1 on your list.
Hire an executive assistant.
Yes.
That is the #1 thing that we need to do. And we are changing it from being specifically the assistant to the executive director to the assistant to Tom, Amanda, and I, all three. And I think that was Jake's suggestion, and it was a good one. We've got some really good applicants, and we're scheduling 4 interviews. So we will know something in probably in the next week or two, I'm guessing, a couple weeks. I wanted to meet with all of our providers, and we've really made a lot of headway on doing that. I was going with Jake to the sheltered workshops, but also with Tracy on all of her quarterly outcome visits, and I'd like to do that for probably the next couple of rounds, and then if there's anything going on, also be invited back. But I feel like I need to develop that relationship. And then several of our providers have also reached out to me. They want to have one-on-one conversation about something specific. For example, I'm going to meet with Ability KC about some data collection that they're really interested in working together with us on doing better data collection. And then we have the Farmer's House is really interested in expanding into Jackson County, and they're going to meet with, I think, Amanda and Tracy and I. Amanda, was there anyone else that was going to sit in on that?
I am not camera ready, sorry.
Oh, you're always beautiful, and you know it.
No. I believe that is what I've seen. And yeah, a couple of their staff, their grants person and lead program person. Yeah.
And then we have a new provider called Exceptional Humans, and they're going to work in Clay, Clatt, and Jackson County. And so they want to meet with us and talk a little bit more about what they're going to be able to provide. So that's going really well already, but I just really want to continue building those relationships. We are going to reinstitute the Coffee with Georgie, which we did when I first started. And that's where I met with small groups of the support coordinators, but I want to include all the staff this time, and then just have some get to know you discussions and get feedback from them on what they think is working and not working with ETAS, and hear any concerns they might have about the transition. Doing everything I can to help them build their confidence that, we're going into the future really well. It's going to be all right. Let's see. I'm trying to do this from memory.
You're doing great.
I think I wanted to reach out to all of our representatives and local senators and the legislature and the mayors of the different communities that we support, because I want to offer assistance or be a resource if they need me to on any type of issue they might be facing that might impact the DD community. I know that there's something going on in Lee's Summit. Jake, they reached out to you first. Can you tell them?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on what I'm trying to do is people have been contacting me that don't know I'm retiring and saying, we'd like you to serve on this. And so I've been forwarding those to Georgie and letting them know that I'm leaving, but Lee Summit is starting up a diversity advisory council. They want to improve the diversity in Lee Summit, and so they want to include someone representing people with disabilities. And I initially talked to him a couple months ago, and then I said, I'm going to turn you over to Georgie, and then this week I got asked to join a suicide prevention advisory group that is put together by Mid-America Regional Council. And once again, they wanted somebody to represent people with disabilities, and so I gave them Georgie's name and said follow up on that. And now she can decide whether she wants to stay part of that or join that or whatever. I'm leaving that up to her, but I mean, it's good. It's a good context for her to make. We're rejoining the diversity in here in Jackson County. We dropped out because it was a $4,000 membership fee, and so we skipped last year. We're rejoining this year. But you've got Children's Mercy Hospital, the Federal Reserve, you've got Hallmark Cards. They all belong to that, and it's all important people on those organizations. And so Georgie needs to have that group to interact with as well. I've enjoyed working with them over the last few years, so I think it's good for her to get those kind of contacts too. So.
I do think it's great to be invited and included in the group in Lee Summit that's trying to expand their efforts to promote diversity in Lee Summit, but I hope that they actually invite somebody who has a disability to be on the board as well. Let's see. I'm really drawing a blank, so I might have to go back to my Word document.
No, you're good.
Okay, great.
Hit some of the highlights. We'll catch you on the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, any old business? We have our review of the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Touch base on that and see where we're at, and
You've got all the notes on that.
okay.
Okay. So I don't know if you'd like me to share my screen or just hit the highlights.
Go ahead and share your screen.
All righty. Let's see here. And now it's not cooperating. Oh, here we go. I got to close some other documents because I'm not sure how much you're going to see here. There we go. Do you see the strategic plan 2020-2023?
Yep. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, terrific. We did add this introduction. We felt like we all talked and thought that it was needed to have an introduction because when you just read the strategic plan cold, it really talks more about our organization and the way that we operate rather than about things that we dream of for people who have IDD. And so we wanted to kind of link that together, that we feel like our best way to better serve people is to improve our operations. We are working on the evaluation process, and we've got the SC position complete. Amanda, I have that we have the senior SC position complete because I know we were really close. Did that get finished while I was gone, or?
It is finished and it needs to be sent through to Pam,
Okay,
the HR. So yes, it's done.
thank you.
We
And then-
did SC2 first and now we'll do senior.
Oh, I forgot to put the SC2 one on there. So we've got 3 complete, and I know that Roger is looking for some measurable outcomes and objectives. He wants to do a lot of those around safety. And Amanda, did you have anything to add to that because you work more with Roger?
Yeah, we're meeting in July. We're targeting September to have that in place. So we've got a work day set aside.
It's wonderful. We're starting with the ones where we have the most people in those positions, and then it's going to be a lot more difficult to do the ones where there's only 1 or 2 people in that position. But we'll get there. We still got another year and a half left on this strategic plan. On the policies and processes and trying to make those pertain more specifically to each of the programs, if there's differences that are needed in those programs. That's just going to be something ongoing, I believe, for the rest of our time. We are doing that. We have been working on that. Roger's done a couple of things, but I don't think it's one that's ever going to be complete. So I just marked it continuous and ongoing. The leadership development program, that has been developed. It's complete. Our supervisors have been through it. We've now moved on to the next phase, which is rising leaders. And we're right now in the process of accepting applications for the Rising Leaders Program. Those applications close on June 30th. And I'm sorry if my voice is rough. I'm getting there. But those close on June 30th, and then we should have a decision made and the successful applicants notified by July 8th, I believe, was the deadline to let them know. So we're really excited about that because we're going to be able to grow people from within to take on some leadership roles. On the onboarding process, that's in progress. Amanda actually revised our job ad and we increased the starting pay. So we think that the onboarding hiring process is going a little bit more smoothly. I didn't get an update on training. I know that Lindy works really hard on that and she's made a lot of improvements, but I can't speak specifically to that unless Amanda has something she wants to add.
For the support coordinators, we've added the benchmarks to
90-day benchmarks, yeah.
90-day benchmarks, and then competency testing for kind of the ETOS process of training and getting people up to speed. So it tells us where there are gaps, if there are any gaps, and it helps us target the training. Since we are spread very thin now with the number of senior SCs we have and trainers, because we've been hiring, it's really good to be able to narrow that down. So yeah, that's to where people need help.
On strategic objective number 2, it was to address the process improvement and efficiency of work across all the departments. And our first goal was to redesign the current digital file system so that we have everything basically online and can unplug the server. And Tom says, as of today, we are more than halfway there. Tom, did you need to elaborate on that?
No, that's all I got to say right now.
Okay.
Still working on it.
For most of us, we are completely on SharePoint. I thought it was done because everything I do is on SharePoint, but I guess there's some background stuff or a few scattered things here and there that are still on the server. The conduct a process review of all departments. We have really updated a lot of processes over the last year or two, got things in writing that had never been in writing before. And we've also realized that that's going to be an ongoing forever thing, that we need to continue looking at our processes constantly and making sure that everything's written down. So I didn't want to mark that one complete either. As far as improving technology for efficiency, we have moved to SharePoint, to Microsoft Teams, and to Zoom, and we moved to Paycom, and those were some of our big goals. Actually, we didn't even have some of those as goals when we started. That was sort of a vague goal, but then the pandemic hit, and we really embraced technology. Thoroughly document all our processes in writing. That is complete for now, but we're always going to stumble across something that we didn't have written down. And no matter how good we are, we can always be better. So I want to keep that as an ongoing objective as well. Streamlining the application and hiring process with an online human resource package. That's in progress. We converted to Paycom 18 months ago, and Paycom has that capability. But we had to thoroughly document our entire hiring process and break it down into very small steps. And now the group is looking at each of those steps to see what can be automated and how that can be automated. I kind of thought, and I think a lot of us did, that if it was just off-the-shelf software, we could just start accepting applications, but it really isn't as simple as that sounds. So, but we're there. We're almost there. We're getting there. On the develop training for supervisors that ensures consistent and standardized processes, that's in progress. We are currently working on the performance improvement process, and then the leadership development classes that we've all had have really assisted with that goal, kind of getting all the supervisors on the same page. And a lot of trainings where discussion ensues and small group activities ensue, so that we're able to get on the same page with things that we didn't even know another department was doing differently until we had that opportunity to sit down and talk. So I'm really happy with that one. Objective number 3 was data collection. And I think you guys know that Connections is coming to the Department of Mental Health. And that's why we kind of put that whole thing on hold. We don't want to pay for a system we are not going to need. We need to figure out what all Connections is going to do for us before we try to buy something that'll fill in those holes. On strengthening our internal partnerships, the first one was each department and team will develop several ways of pursuing that objective and will write specific objectives. That's still pending. We haven't got to that one very well yet. And the same with objective number 5, which is identify additional external groups outside of our typical arena to develop more and stronger advocacy efforts. I say that's pending, but then again, Jake just gave you several of examples of how we're getting invited to other places to sit on boards. So I think it's also going to be something that's always ongoing. And we're pending that last one, which is pay for high-speed connections and develop specialized training to enable persons supported to have true connectivity. So then let's see here. On objective number 6, explore and identify solutions for diversifying services and revenue. And we have, the first one was to explore behavioral health services and solutions. And we do recognize that there are a lot of people who have a dual diagnosis or co-occurring disorders that kind of fall through the cracks. Maybe their developmental disability isn't severe enough to get a waiver, but they've got one, and that impacts their ability to fully benefit from their mental health care. So we have that WASA advocate, the Wellness and Support Advocate, and we've written a grant, or Amanda wrote a grant to have that as a position that we can keep in the future. Amanda, do we have any updates on that?
That's been really interesting. I've asked a couple times now, and they redid their processes, so they just don't know when they're gonna let the applicants know if they have been awarded money or not.
Yeah,
So
you
we're
shared the
hopeful.
last email, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And then we were going to explore fee-for-service case management for people who are not eligible for Medicaid as a revenue stream for COD, and we really haven't got that far yet. Develop transition planning services to augment school districts and better assist parents and guardians. We completed the first part of that. We provided grant funding to Transition Academy, and we are going to continue to look at more ways to do this. I think it's something that we need to keep in front of us when we're having our funding cycles. We also would like to have more contact with the schools, and I know Melinda's department has already gone to some transition fairs and really represented ETOS there. On the transportation objective, explore expanding transportation services to other demographics or transportation outside of Jackson County. I know that Roger is working on the US DOT designation, so we are very close to being able to transport people across the state line into Kansas. Yay for Roger. And I know that Jake and Roger had put their heads together about the possibility of providing transportation to people if we have the NFL draft here in Kansas City. We were hoping for that. So I know people have a lot of great ideas. We just haven't had anything that's been able to be implemented yet. Jake, did you have any comments on that?
No, you did a good job.
Okay.
Keep the World Cup in mind too.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got the World Cup coming now, and so, yeah, Roger and I have been talking about how we could do something maybe in the evening and weekend to start off.
So all in all, I think we've made a whole lot of progress. There are things we haven't gotten to yet, but we can't do it all at once.
Yeah, this strategic plan came about before anybody had any inkling of what was coming. And so I think, given the circumstances, you all have done a fabulous job on getting through those objectives. We still have a year and a half, so I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah. Although we do got to start planning for our next strategic plan that should be done before the end of next year.
Yes.
There's that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Okay. Any other questions on that? And I wanted to say too, Georgie, don't hesitate to delegate to appropriate staff those committees and so forth. If there's a staff member that lives in Lee Summit that would be good to be on that DEI committee, I think I'm certainly in favor of our staff representing us as well.
I love to share the wealth. So, yeah.
Okay. Very good. Also want to talk a bit about Thursday. What do you all need from us? I know we've talked about a few things, got an agenda.
I was gone last week, but for people who are on that committee, Kristen, you're there.
Jake might need to leave.
Yeah, Jake needs to leave.
Yeah, so Jake can probably not be there for this.
Just a minute or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Thursday, what Thursday?
No listening, Jake.
For me. He slammed the door.
Awesome. All right.
I know we told you some people to do for the meeting or speaking. Sorry.
Can you talk louder, Kristen? Please. Your favorite.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do the introduction at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then George is gonna do the statement from the board.
Okay. I can do that. Awesome.
And John will do the sign presentation.
Okay.
That's the sign. I think that's gonna be a two-person thing.
Okay. Anybody want to help John?
Or a three-person thing, that's gonna have a curtain. Or a sheet.
We can all kind of be there.
Hold it, it's, they're large, you hold them up and then someone has to hold the sheet off.
I don't mind pulling the sheet out.
You got it.
George is. George. Yeah.
And then I'm doing the sign.
Was John on board?
And then Amanda, are you doing remarks on behalf of the staff?
I believe so, yes. I just sent an email. I'm not quite sure what we're going for there. Just basically Jake was amazing and have fun in retirement. We think you're the best kind of thing. Yeah, okay, I can do that.
The only other thing that Georgia had on the agenda was the presentation of the gift from the board. And Evan wanted to do that. We've been doing that already. No, that's good. Yeah.
I can certainly do it.
We also just found out today that Frank wasn't able to attend. He had been in contact with his office, and then just today, while we were over working in training building and everything ready to go, his executive emailed me to let me know that something had come up and he's gonna be busy all day Thursday and wouldn't be able to stop by. But if he gets time, he will come over because he was very excited. He's contacted me about it. He
I
really
got
wants to
the
be here.
proclamation. Yes, we should present that.
Yeah, then I was gonna confirm that you were gonna go for that. I'm excited about that. I've never written a county proclamation before, so it's kind of fun.
Very good. Well, do you guys look very nice? One being like agenda sent to you? One, if you have it, so you guys.
Or, yeah, or if you can have a copy for us that day.
Yeah, I was gonna try to send it out. I think it's 11:30. Yes. 11:30.
And what time will you guys be over here to set up? All morning or? Probably. So help us set up and tear down as available.
Sure, yeah. I think Tracy and I were planning on getting over there around 8. 7:38. Yeah.
Probably gonna work, so.
Did you just say 7:30 or 8? Did I hear that right?
That was Tracy and I's plan. Tracy said to give her 15 minutes anyway.
Yeah, but Amanda's supposed to get there at 6, I think.
PM, right?
I appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this. And I think it's gonna turn out fabulous. I have no doubt. And again, thank you. And let us know if there's anything else we can do.
Are those one?
Yeah, I haven't been doing the video slideshow.
What are they on the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the video. Slideshow.
Slideshow's just gonna go the whole time. Yeah, that's right. Did I send you guys the video? Okay, I'll send it to you guys so you can see it ahead of time a little bit, so it won't be up there and won't have any use. Actually,
Surprise ball, don't turn it out.
actually, I'm not, let me not send it to you then. Wait.
To be part of the question.
Wait, I still had one more thing I wanted to say. That there's extra money and it was gonna go on a gift card. Do you guys mind if I combine the board money and the staff money and do one gift card, or would you like them separate?
That's fine.
Okay. What he had told his kids one time was that anytime they didn't know what to get him a gift card to Larry's Garden Center or nursery, something like that. The problem is I'm the one who has all that money and I'm not off of quarantine until late tomorrow. So I think what I was going to do is just try to get something from Lowe's or Home Depot because he's always doing home projects. Oh, Tracy, you want to do it? Are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I can do it.
Oh, terrific. I can even just give you my card to go do it. So
Whatever.
yeah, because I don't have it in cash. I have it on my Venmo, or I can Venmo it to you.
Yeah, why don't you Venmo it to me?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that tonight, right after this meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Problem solved.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Ready for Jake?
Yep.
He probably has his ear up to the door.
We really need to tell them to bring an extra set of clothes for that dump tank. Yeah, bring an extra set of clothes for that dump tank. I don't want to.
All right, any public comments?
I just, wanted to tell you that several of us did the board, with Dr. Friend.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, it was good. A lot of it, I think we probably already knew, but a lot of it was affirming. And
Good.
I will tell you, it made me feel really, really good. Because I think we've got it really
Good.
And
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff I was
I did
following
think
up for, like in the first 90 days here, being on board, me to board, it was like already like checked out.
Yeah.
Great.
Good, I'm glad you guys found that valuable. All right, any public comment? Then can I have a motion to go into closed session per section 610.010 of the Missouri Open Meetings and Records Law?
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And this motion is carried. I will ask Georgie and Jake to stay. And then we will adjourn the rest of the regular board meeting.
Bye.
Thank you.